Hey, this is Pastor Matt, and welcome to Confirmation 2.0. These are a series of short devotional videos designed to walk through the same topics your kids are walking through each and every week in Confirmation. And what I love about it is, one, it'll talk to you about what your kids are learning, but two, it'll show you how it still applies to your life today, because that's the powerful thing about faith. Faith is something that grows with you. And so today we're talking about the 10 Commandments. And oftentimes when we think about the 10 Commandments, we think about the 10 things that you do to get God to love you. The 10 things that you don't want to screw up or else God won't love you anymore. And that's actually not the case with the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are actually something God gives to us because He already loves us. In fact, that's what you see when you read the first commandment. If you look in Exodus chapter 20, it's also in Deuteronomy 5, you see that God starts out the 10 Commandments not by telling us something to do for Him, but by telling us about what He's already done for us. And specifically in this context, He's talking to the Israelites. And the Israelites spent 400 years in slavery, 400 years of forced work and oppression. And God looks at them before He ever tells them one thing to do, and He says this, "I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me." What God is saying is this: before you could do anything for me, I did something great for you. God's saying, before you could do anything for me, I did something great for you. And because of that great thing I've done for you, you are now a part of my family. And so as we talk about these 10 Commandments, God says, know that I'm talking to you as one of my children so you can learn how to grow and live in this family I've brought you into. It's a really cool thing when you think about it. It's not God saying, okay, do these things or I won't love you. It's God saying, because of how much I've loved you, do these things and they will help life go well for you, but they'll teach you how to live as God's people. Now, I love that because when you look at that, it says, okay, well, what is a God? And God basically says, you shall have no other gods before me. And Luther, in the Large Catechism, tells us, anything on which your heart relies depends, I say, that is really your God. And so what God's really telling us in that first commandment is, above all else, trust me and depend on me. Why? Because God says, I'm the one that sets you free. Now you may say, well, Pastor Matt, I've never been a slave anywhere. No, that's true, but what God's talking about is not just physical. He's talking about something that's also spiritual. And Jesus says this in John chapter 8, 34 to 36. Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not remain in the house forever. The Son remains forever. So if the Son sets you free, you're free indeed. Paul goes on in Ephesians 2 to tell us, but God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses and sins, He made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. Dead in our trespasses. God is saying, just like I set the Israelites free, I set you free. So if you're going to trust in anything in this world, God says, trust in me. Why? Well, it goes back to the heart of the 10 Commandments. Because who else has done such a great thing for you? I like to tell people this. Why should we trust in God? Why should we have God above any other God? Because the reality is we're all going to have a God. When you look at what Luther says, anything on which your heart relies and depends, I say that's really your God. Well, our heart's going to always rely and depend on something. So why not rely and depend on the God who's already loved you so much? He came into the world to live for you and to die for you. If God's willing to live for you and die for you, what would He ever hold back from you? That's what God's saying in the 10 Commandments. Trust me because I have a track record of always coming through for your good. And that's where the 10 Commandments start. Hey guys, thanks for joining us for our first episode of Confirmation 2.0. I hope you got something out of this. At the very least, I hope you will remember the 10 Commandments aren't about what you're going to do for God, but they start with what God has already done for you. I hope you can have some discussions about this with your kids, and I hope that through these videos you'll get an opportunity to continue to grow in your faith. And until next time, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Confirmation 2.0.